Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. And I wanted to do what, I won't even call it a mini haul, I'll call it a micro haul, which I guess is a contradiction in terms. I got a few rocks, let's just say that. So I went to, and I'm also going to tell people about this book, and I realized, was it last night or the night before, that I had not put this book on my resources page. And I thought, oh, I need to correct that. And I haven't corrected it yet, but I might before I put this up. In any case, a little rock talk. So it takes about an hour for me to get to this rock shop, but it's the closest one that I know of. And he has really interesting things because he has a lot of raw stone, and one of these days I'm going to have to ask him, you know, if I were to buy one of these raw stones, what do I do with it? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Would I just have to buy a tumbler? Are there other things? Are there other, I don't know. In any case, what I find there a lot of times is that their tumbled stones are not, some of them are perfectly tumbled and some of them are not super glossy tumbled, not finely tumbled. In other words, they're not as glossy as, say, you know, my malachites. I mean, that's pretty finely, and some of the tiger eye I have, they're pretty finely tumbled, and some of these really are not, which is okay. But he's somebody who clearly loves his rough stones, his untouched stones. So I originally was wanting to go there because, as I said in some other videos, he has this box that is just a bunch of quartz points. Some of them have been pretty scratched up. But anyway, I love digging through them. It's the whole foraging thing. I like to forage. But they had advertised, it's called Earth Forged, and they had advertised that they were going to have an open house. And so that just kind of gave me the little push that I needed to make the trip to go out there. And they were hopping, they were busy, and they're just a small shop, so you were rubbing behinds with people and stuff like that, trying to see things. So that was nice to see. It was nice to see that they did get quite a crowd out there. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stones for $10.50, and that included tax, which was exactly right up my alley. I shouldn't have even spent that $10, but there we go. I gave myself that allowance. And it's funny, there was a gal there with scents, like aromatherapy scents, and I looked at her stuff for a second. She was a separate vendor. She was a little bit outside of the main shop, and I said, I'm sorry, but I came here for rocks only, and I've spent my money on my rocks, and that's the end of that. She was a little skeptical, but no, that's it. I can't really spend any more money. It's like, have your open house at the beginning of the month, not the end of the month. But anyway, on to the stones. So as we all know, rocks come out of the earth with little labels with rocks. Anyway, this one maybe I'll have to soak it a little bit. So this is rose quartz, and although I have some polished rose quartz, they're so pale that you almost can't tell that they're rose quartz unless you put them next to regular quartz. And you say, oh, this is the clear or the whitish, and this is... Anyway, so I was really, I don't know, it wasn't really till I got there that I was thinking I would really like some rose quartz. And he had like honkin' huge raw things of rose quartz. Not those you buy, I can't buy the pound or the gram, one or the other. But anyway, I got this lovely chunk of rose quartz. It's a fairly, you can't really tell very well, but it's a fairly dark specimen of rose quartz. So I was happy to find that. And it has some kind of fiery little glints in it, which was really interesting to me. I didn't know that rose quartz could have that. It just flashed at me as I was starting to put it down, especially in this place where it's kind of, where it broke off. There are little dark pink or almost orangey flashes that will happen. And then this lovely little, I wouldn't call it a palm stone, but it's close. And this is supposed to be a Leopardite or leopard jasper. So just an intriguing little stone with lots of little things in it. Here's the quartz because I wanted to get some of the other things that I was seeing. They have developed their shop a little bit more, and there's greater variety and more things in there. But I did get one little quartz crystal, little pear. Is that not cute? Look at how cute that is, little pear. You really can't see it quite as, maybe if I put it there, maybe you can see with the dark behind it. They're just a pair, side by side. A little pair of crystals, quartz crystals. And then I got, which I was surprised to see, a little thing, a little tiny, tiny thing of kyanite. So that was interesting. And I was intrigued by it because I'd seen it. I didn't know if it was in the Crystal Wisdom Healing Oracle or if it was in this book, but I'd seen kyanite before, and it just sort of, I don't know, it wasn't that it was attractive to me, it was just strange. And I thought, kyanite in it. And so I got some kyanite. It just rang a bell with me, and it was very cheap, obviously. Everything was very cheap. And then this is serpentine, and it's got pyrite in it. And that's kind of, I've ended up kind of with a thing for pyrite. And so that's part of my attraction to it, was that it had pyrite in it. And just that it was serpentine. I hadn't ever had serpentine. This is supposed to be a rough form of emerald. And I'm just going to have to take the geologist, I don't know that he's technically a geologist as in having studied geology. I'm going to have to take the professional rock hound at his word, and I'm not able to get a very good image of it. I wonder if I can hold it. That does better. You're still not seeing very much of the green. That's a little better. There you go. So it is green, but I was checking out some of these on some websites, and it also looks an awful lot like what I had seen somebody call Incan Jade. And when I got it home and I looked at it, I was looking at it going, oh, this strikes me as being more jade-like. But when I looked up images for, I can't remember if I looked up raw emerald, I think I did, or rough emerald, and looked at the images on Google, and they did look very much like this. But obviously it's low grade, obviously. But one thing I really liked about this was the directionality of the stone, that it's a point, because that can be useful if you're doing kind of crystal healing and stuff like that. So I really liked that aspect of it. And the last, and I'm probably not going to be able to get it to show, this is a garnet. And again, it's semi-polished, kind of flashed at you a little bit there. But if I put, at first when I was trying to examine it, now you can see a little on the bottom there, you can see a little bit of the red showing through. And that's the, so it's like so dark that you can't, if I, so I can't talk and look at the same time. So when I look at it, like when it just came down to the table, I could see when I was first looking at it in the little bag it was in. Maybe if I show it like that. Can I show it? Can I show it like that? Nope. No, there shows a little bit. So it looked like one side, what it looked like was one side was maybe had the clarity that we'd associate with garnet, and it looked like maybe it was on some darker background, so you just had kind of half of the stone being the garnet that we would recognize. And but then I saw when I was looking at these images online that somebody had taken, and I tried putting it up to the light like that, and it doesn't work at all, because I think the light, for one thing, is too far away, and the light, because it's such a small stone, the light makes looking up at the light makes my pupils contract, and then the stone just looks black. But I saw somebody doing something that makes perfect sense, which is you get a flashlight, and then you shine it either down on, or you put the stone on top of the flashlight, and you can see. And actually, it is beautiful if you've got light shining through it. A beautiful deep red garnet, but it has inside of it, it has some kind of dark matter. It's dark matter. So, you know, again, impurities, which is why it only costed $1 or $2 or whatever it was. So there you go. There's my micro, I don't know, it's not correct. It's not a haul, it's a purchase, my micro stone purchase. From my visit to the rock shop. And that was just, I was just trying to commit myself to getting the heck out of town every now and then. And so that was my getting out of town. So what was I looking up? I was looking up Serpentine, so I'll keep it open and we'll read a little bit about Serpentine. So this is a book I got some time ago, actually. I don't know, it was 2 years, 3 years ago. And what I was thinking when I bought it was, I was thinking that it was a book similar to something I had when I was a teenager, and probably more like the field guides, the Audubon field guide type things, so more science-oriented. But, you know, it's got pictures of rocks, so I'm happy. But what I kind of wanted was a book that would, like, show me the crystal structure of each mineral and stuff like that. Well, that's not what this is, but this is still very curious. It's about the properties, the metaphysical properties of these stones. He does have a little bit that's about the stone itself, but it's more like using stones for healing. And so I should go get my other book as well. And I'll do that here momentarily. So, and does he have, what does he have in the front? He doesn't have too much in the front. He has a disclaimer. Author's note on crystal healing. Very short introduction. And then, you know, kind of like a table of contents. Even though they're listed alphabetically, sometimes, like I was looking at kyanite, and there's one place where there's a name for the kyanite, and he puts the name, like he would have kyanite blue, Kyanite-green. And then later in the book there was something called something or other kyanite. And so he was putting it alphabetically according to that first word instead of putting kyanite, blah, blah, blah. So there are some anomalies like that to be aware of or be watchful of. And then in the back, here's Appendix 1, How to Meditate with a Stone, and circulation through the heart. And I think this is about like identifying the energy of that particular stone and what it will do for you. Almost like an intuitive reading of a tarot card. You know, there's an assigned meaning, but you can also sit with the card and get a meaning that is particularly for you. Appendix 2, Azozeo superactivated Azeztulites, the beginning of a new crystal era. I don't think I've even read that. There's kind of shows a crystal grid. And then there's stone property reference index in the back, and this is fairly long and comprehensive. So it's physical correspondences, like if you have acne, see skin problems, activation stone, moldavite, acupuncture, magnetite, addiction, agate, dendritic, so dendritic agate, astrophyllite, galena, and they had a bunch of galena at the shop, and so I will someday go back for some galena and hope that it's still there, because I've always sort of liked galena, and I don't know why. I like the name galena, and I guess that's why I like the stone. Anyway, so he has that, physical correspondences, and then in the separate section he has spiritual or emotional correspondences. So pretty thorough, very interesting. So for serpentine, I'm going to try to read this. Keywords: awakening of higher brain functions, connection with nature, kundalini awakening. Chakras: all, element earth, physical, aids in rewriting neural pathways so higher brain areas predominate and guide behavior. Emotional: helps one release fear of change and embrace transformation. Spiritual: assists in awakening kundalini energies for personal evolution. And then there's a fairly long, so I just read this little part up here, and then there's this thing that's fairly long. It starts with physical properties. Very briefly goes into physical properties. Serpentine is a magnesium silicate mineral with a monoclinic orthorhombic or hexagonal crystal system and a hardness ranging from 2 to 5.5. Major deposits are in England, South Africa, Brazil, and the USA. Then he starts to talk. Do they all have 3 paragraphs? No, they don't all have 3 paragraphs. Some of them have 4. Let's go. Serpentine is one of the best stones for rousing kundalini energies, the serpent power said to reside at the base of the spine. Serpentine is also a good stone to place on the meridian points for clearing blocked energies and allowing the healthy natural flow to be reestablished. It is powerful for working energetically to bring the old reptilian part of the brain into the service of the higher brain. In many people, due to psychic wounds from one's family and culture, the reverse is the case. Carrying, wearing, or meditating with serpentine can help establish the order intended by nature, bringing peace and joy to the individual and reverberating into the outer world. Serpentine harmonizes. Okay, so this is something that he usually has here. He talks about how the stones interact with other stones. Serpentine harmonizes with seraphinite for the rewiring of unhealthy brain patterns. Herderite, phenacite, naturalite, scolecite, and azeztulite can all help this process by stimulating the higher brain areas. Anandalite and Tibetan tektite reinforce serpentine's energies in the kundalini awakening process. Other stones that harmonize with serpentine are amethyst, moonstone, Libyan gold tektite, golden labradorite, zincite, tigerite, emerald, green jade, purple jade, and strombelite. So that, that's just an example of the kind of information in here. Anyway, so there you go. I will put that on my Amazon page, and I will put the link in the information box below the video, but you can also just get the information right out of there, as I was showing you, by Robert Simmons, The Pocketbook of Stones, Who They Are and What They Teach. So there you go. Oh yes, I was going to go get my crystal healing book, and I'll show it to you. I think it's still in print. sometimes I think I get my spirit messages at the, I don't even know what to call it. It's a big warehouse. It's full of nuts and bolts and screws and shirts and weird tools and hemostats and all kinds of weird stuff. And it has these long tables of books that I go through, and sometimes I see books that are speaking to me. So this book was there, and it's like 50 cents or $1. You know, they're all that price for the most part. And all I could think of was, well, there it is. So I'm going to get it. So there it is. Crystal Healing by Simon Lilly. This is a step-by-step guide to using crystals for health and healing. And I haven't read all of it. It starts with the structure of the book, or the structure of the earth. Chapters are crystal structure and care, crystals and healing, color and light, crystals and chakras, skills for crystal healing, crystals for balancing the fine levels, in other words, subtle bodies, energy fields that are out away from our body, working deeper with crystals, crystal techniques for well-being, world traditions of crystal healing, and then there's the gems in the back. There's a gemstone directory, qualities and attributes, glossary, further reading, and useful addresses, and an index. So there we go. I will see if this is on Amazon as well, and I will put a link to it on my Amazon page also. Working deeper with crystals. But I do know that I was really liking this book. It was a good book. It is a good book. All right, calling it done. Take care. I hope this gets the gears turning for anybody who has been interested in working with crystals other than just, you know, grabbing them and soaking them up. My precious, that kind of thing. Take care. Bye-bye.